Assyria, the first empire of evil. It's a title that evokes curiosity, anxiety, and an inevitable sense of awe. But how does an ancient civilization, one of the most powerful of its time, come to be associated with evil? What could they possibly have done to earn such an infamous label? Today, we are diving deep into the historical and cultural roots of the Assyrian Empire to uncover its rise, dominance, and its association with tyranny and cruelty. Trust me, history has never been this chilling. Let's begin. Our story starts in Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, around 1310 BCE. Here, Assyria was founded under the rule of Ashur-nasir-pal-war, named after the god Ashur, who was the heart of Assyrian religion and identity. The city of Ashur laid the foundation for an empire hungry for expansion and control. As centuries passed, Assyria grew not only in size, but also in power and influence. By the time of Sargon III's reign in 722 BCE, the Assyrian Empire had become an unstoppable force, conquering lands across the Near East. Sargon II and his successors transformed Assyria into the greatest empire that the ancient world had ever seen. But this wasn't achieved without bloodshed or fear. The Assyrians weren't just conquerors, they were innovators in the art of war. Their military tactics were highly sophisticated for their time, and their brutality became legendary. Armed with chariots, well-trained infantry, and innovative siege weapons, the Assyrians struck terror into the hearts of their enemies. Whole cities were wiped out, not because of necessity, but to serve as chilling examples to others contemplating rebellion. Corpse-laden battlefields weren't rare, they were deliberate works of psychological warfare. Their siege techniques were revolutionary. From tunneling beneath city walls to battering them with colossal rams, Assyrian armies were nearly impossible to resist. It wasn't just their weapons, it was their mindset. No other army governed death so strategically, turning it into an instrument of governance. But military might wasn't their only tool of control. Religion was another vital weapon in their arsenal. The Assyrians were devout, with Ashur reigning supreme as their god-king figure. Loyalty to Ashur wasn't optional. Worship wasn't limited to prayer. It extended into rituals with a macabre twist. Yes, we're talking about human sacrifices. Historical accounts and archaeological findings confirm that the Assyrians incorporated human offerings into their religious practices, believing that such acts would secure divine favor in maintaining their empire. It's hard not to wonder if evil was stitched into the empire's very structure, politics and religion blending to justify unthinkable acts. Yet, no ruler embodied the Assyrian spirit more fiercely than Tiglath-Pileser III. Reigning from 745 to 727 BCE, Tiglath-Pileser III expanded Assyria's borders, as no one before him could. Militaristic and ambitious, he reshaped Assyria into a superpower. Beyond military conquests, he left behind another legacy, the Grand Palace at Nimrud. This wasn't just an architectural marvel, it symbolized Assyrian dominance. Inside its vast walls, murals depicted their victories and acts of subjugation, cementing their legacy for all to see. And yet, the harsh reality of Assyrian governance was spelled out in the Assyrian Code of Laws. Unlike emerging neutral legal systems of the region, these laws were harsh and unforgiving, designed to control through fear. The punishment for crimes often didn't fit the crime, but instead sought to humiliate publicly and impose terror. With the death of Tiglath-Pileser III, Sennacherib rose to power in 705 BCE. His reign was marked by some of Assyria's most notorious acts of terror. Remember the siege of Jerusalem that nearly wiped it off the map? Sennacherib's military campaign against Judah and Babylon exemplified Assyria's destructive power. His forces turned cities to dust, enslaved nations, and left behind a trail of devastation that would be retold for centuries. Psychological warfare was Sennacherib's specialty. He used terror and intimidation not just to destroy, but to extract loyalty from conquered regions. The Siege of Lachish is one of many brutal episodes recorded. a chilling reminder of Assyria's might. But it wasn't always bloodshed and war. During Esarhaddon's reign from 681 to 669 BCE, Assyrian power peaked, but in less violent ways. Esarhaddon inherited a vision of not only expanding, but culturally binding an empire. Under his administration, Nineveh, the Assyrian capital, was transformed into an advanced city. Palatial complexes housed sculptures, libraries, and gardens. Nineveh became the cultural epicenter of the ancient world, spreading Assyrian language, art, and ideals far and wide. From an outside view, it seemed as if the empire had truly reached its zenith. But this height came at a price. Underneath the luxury and advancement, there was rampant unrest in the conquered regions. As the Neo-Babylonians rose to challenge Assyrian supremacy, the cracks in their empire began to show. By 626 BCE, Babylon had its own king, and the dawning rebellion against Assyria couldn't be ignored. The year 612 BCE marks the fall of Nineveh, the once untouchable crown jewel of Assyria, destroyed by Babylonian and Median forces. The first empire of evil was no more. But what is the legacy of Assyria? And why do we, thousands of years later, remember them as agents of darkness? Was it their brutality, their reliance on fear-based governance? Or is it because they serve as a reminder of how power can corrupt, descending into acts we, today, call evil? On the other hand, it can be argued that Assyria, like all empires, used the tools at their disposal to survive in an age where might was right. The Assyrian Empire's story forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about our understanding of morality, governance, and religion. Did their devotion to Ashur blind them to the inhumanity of their actions? Or was religion just a convenient mask for politics? In the end, Assyria's tale is a poignant mixture of triumph and terror. It serves as a cautionary story about the cost of power and the perils of using fear as a tool for governance. While they achieved great things historically, architecturally, and militarily, their association with evil remains a heavy shadow over their legacy. History is filled with empires that rose and fell, but few have left such a complex and controversial impact as Assyria. They were a civilization ahead of their time, but also a symbol of how unchecked power can lead even the greatest of nations down the path of destruction. Thank you for joining me today to uncover the harrowing saga of Assyria. There's always more to learn from history, and examining its darker corners is often the most enlightening. Until next time, keep exploring the past, because it shapes our present and future.